Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you may be. This is By Hook or By Needles, and I am Sam. And today I'm going to show you a new cast on, which is going to be very useful for the new upcoming stitches that I'm going to show. Oops, wrong way. Show you all. So, but first, before we do that, I want to look at this. I've done this as a normal long tail cast on. Normal long tail cast on, we get into the slingshot position, we come up, over, and back through. And that's our long tail cast on. Now what the long tail cast on actually creates, I'm just going to see if we can see this. That's why I got so close. If you pull this down, you should see a V. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. I need a third hand, really. I need a hand to hold it down and then one to show you. See, so if you can see, there's a little V there. A V down and a V up. Can you see that? Just a little V. Which would mean if we knitted, if we went back to the beginning and just knit across, we would actually get a much cleaner edge because we're putting a knit stitch over the knit stitch, and that's Maggie joining helping me knit. Don't you chew that? No. Oh, you cheeky little girl. Equally interesting, perhaps, is on the back you will have a load of purl bumps. So normally you might find that some patterns that are maybe knit in garter stitch, in stockinette stitch, might tell you to start your first row doing one row of purl, because they know you've already got purl bumps all the way along here because you've done a long tail cast on, say. So if you do purl along here first, then you're going to match this side of the work, which will be your wrong side in stockinette. This side of your work will have just all the purl bumps, and on this side you will have all the V's, and thus it will look a lot neater. No, good girl. But if you were going to do garter stitch, which is knitting every row, you could just as easily knit this, which would create a row of bumps, and then you would have bumps on this side and bumps on that side, which is exactly what you want for garter stitch. No. Come on. Right. But what if you are doing the cuff of a cardigan or a sweater or a scarf or a hat, and you don't want this purl bump along here? Because if I now go knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, you're going to see this purl ridge very clearly. And you also notice this will be like a flat area between this and the purl bumps, and it's going to show up there as well. So what do? Well, we do this cast on. I think it's also known as the Italian cast on, but don't quote me. So I'm going to take these off, and we are going to learn a knit one, purl one cast on. Okay. Now, the easy part is you already know half of this cast on. Let me see if I can just back out a little bit. The beauty of this, like I say, is if you've watched and learnt how to do the 3 cast-ons, or even only one of the 3 cast-ons that I've shown you in my previous video, I will link it in the description. Go back to that video and learn the long tail cast-on if you haven't already learnt it. So if you've learnt that already, you're halfway there. I promise you, you're halfway there. And it's quite logical when you consider it as to what we need to do. But, it might not be logical for everybody because I guess you need to have a knitting brain. Yes, I know, you're there. Yes, I know, but I'm doing a video. keeps putting her paw on my shoulder. She's quite cute. All right, so how do we get this? Well, as some of you will already know, when I start, I tend to just twist my yarn. Sorry, my cat is, yeah. And that stitch slips. Now you can just as easily make a slip knot. You can just as easily make a little slip knot. And you can start with a slip knot if you like. And that's not going to really move up and down like the other one did. Okay? You can just as easily start with a slip knot, but I prefer to start with that one. So I get in the slingshot position. I go in, twist it up. And then as you can see, right, so I'm starting like that. And if I twist the bottom, I'm just twisting. Like we did last summer, okay? Some of you may not get that reference. I'm very sorry. The oldies will. Okay, so that's our beginning position. Now, as you know, if you've done the long tail cast on, that's just a matter of picking up this, well, not picking up, you go through this sort of between these stitches or strands, and you want to pick up this strand over here, and you want to take this strand and you want to pull it back through this, like I suppose a hole. It's almost like a hole, isn't it? It's like a little gap. So let's do that. We come up, we grab that strand, and we pull it through, we release our thumb, and we tighten, and there we have our first cast on stitch. And if you look at that cast on stitch, it is a knit stitch, and the pearl bump is at the back. Okay, you can just see it there. Maybe if the camera focuses nicely, which it's not going to. Trust me, it's a pearl bump at the back. So, how do we do a pearl bump at the front? Well, I'm going to see if I can, right, okay, cool. If doing a knit cast on is a matter of going through this gap and picking up that strand to pull it through, back through the gap, then picking up this strand, which is the opposite of this strand, picking up this strand and pulling it back through the hole will give us a pearl bump. I'll show you what I mean. I'll put that down and I'll show you what I mean. So we're just doing the opposite. Normally we would go through this hole, up through this little gap, and pick up this strand and bring it through, but we're not. We're going to come all the way over here. We're going to go up through, up through that gap, right, that hole. I'm going to come over here and pick up this strand to bring back through this hole. I'm going to release my finger instead of my thumb and use my finger to tighten the tension. I now have a pearl bump at the front. So I have my casting on one, I have a knit stitch and a pearl bump, and on the back I have a pearl bump and a knit stitch. So it's just reversing what you would normally do. So we normally come up through this gap and we pick up this strand. So we're going to do that again because we need to make another knit stitch at the front. And there we go. I'm going to make a nice little knit stitch at the front. Now we need to make a pearl stitch. So instead of picking up this strand, we're going to pick up this strand. We'll go through this hole. So instead of going through this gap, we're going through this gap. Okay? And then instead of picking up this strand, we're going to pick up this, instead of picking up this strand, we're going to pick up this strand. So we come around, and I'm going to go through that hole. I'm going to pick up this strand and go back through that hole and release. That gives us a pearl bump at the front. So normal is that. That's our normal long tail cast on. And we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go over here, up through this gap. We're going to come over here and get this strand. Then we're going to go back through the gap, release our finger, and that's going to give us a pearl bump at the front. So we've got knit, pearl, knit, pearl, knit, pearl. So we need another knit stitch. So we're going to come up, we're going to grab that strand, drop our thumb and tighten it. Now maybe a different angle might help. What angle? Maybe from, I'm just trying to think what sort of angle might be better viewing it. I can't really twist myself into knots. We'll try it this way and see if this helps. We're coming over. That doesn't really help. Okay, let's see if we can do it from behind. Nope, that's not going to help either, because you're not going to see me picking up the strand. Trying to get it so that you can see the difference. Basically, you've got this and this are the same. And this are the same. We've got a symmetrical V, if you like. Normally, we come up through here and grab this yarn. That gives us a knit stitch, but we're going to come up through this gap and grab that yarn and pull it back through to give us the purl stitch. And I've forgotten where I was. So knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Okay, so we are about to do another purl. So another purl. Don't let it throw you that it's sort of, because I'm going this way, it's sort of making it look very different than it does when you go this way. It's just that I've got to go all the way over here to get through that hole that's created. Okay, so I need to go up, under and up through there. So alternatively, I've got to go to the back one and up and under and up through there. Now, I grab that yarn instead of this one, and I come back through the same hole I came up and under and up through, and that gives us the purl. So, the normal stitch, we come up through there, we grab this strand, and we come back. That's the normal. Normal gives us a knit stitch. To get our purl bump, we come over here, we come up and through like that. We pick up this strand and down, and we release our finger instead of our thumb, and we use our finger to tighten the tension, and that gives us a purl stitch. One last time. This is our normal, and like I say, there is a video that will show you how to do the normal much easier. And this is the purl. Up and through, grab that strand, take it back through, release the finger and pull it tighter. Now you can actually see I've done it quite tight, probably a little bit too tight, but you can see where we've got, might be better on the back actually, let's have a look. Yeah, okay, so you can see this is a purl bump, 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 and this is a purl bump. On the opposite side, you can see that this will be a purl bump. That's a purl bump. That's a purl bump. You can see the purl bumps there there, 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 and there. So that when we come to do our ribbing, if we were doing ribbing, we would start, because this is a pearl bump on this side, we're turning our work, it's a pearl bump on this side, so to be a knit stitch on the front. So our first stitch would be to knit. This is a pearl bump, so we go bring our yarn to the front and we do a pearl. Go to the back, we do a knit. Come to the front and we do a pearl. And in this way, you are continuing what the cast on looks like. So rather than having a row of bumps or a row of V's, you've got alternating, so that when you do start your ribbing or whatever it might be, it will match that cast on row, so that it doesn't sort of look odd. It doesn't show up the whole row and it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. And the last one we will knit. So now, see what we got here? You can see very clearly. This is a knit stitch we have just done. Below it is a knit cast on. Had we cast on with just the normal way, then this would have been a little pearl bump with a knit stitch above it. Now this stitch would have been okay because it would have been a pearl bump above a pearl bump because it's a pearl stitch. But the next one wouldn't have been okay because it would have had a pearl bump here instead of a knit stitch. So that's, you know, so you can see how much cleaner it is. And to really sort of totally see it, you would need to do several rows. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause. I'm going to do a few rows so that you can really see how much better it will look. Just a moment. Okay, so I've just done a few rows and you can see now how there's no visible ridge of row of ridges, because I've alternated my knit and pearl cast on, and you can sort of see that the knit stitches run right into the cast on, just as the pearl stitches run right into the cast on. There is no visible pearl bump row, which might normally detract, and even on the edge, you can see the edge is going up and down a little bit more like a ridge edge. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Okay, it's going up and down a little bit more readily like a rib edge should. Okay, so that's the knit one, pearl one, cast on. Why have I taught it to you? Haha. Because the next video out will be the first of a few in a series that I'm hoping to do of stitches, of patterns that start off with knit and pearls along the base. So they start off with knit one, pearl one, knit one, pearl one, and it's the first one I think I will do is seed stitch, and the second one will be moss stitch. There is a difference. A lot of people think they're the same thing, but there is a difference. It's only a very slight difference, but it is a difference. And in order for it to look really good, you need to know the knit one, purl one cast on. But one last thing I want to show you. I'm just going to unravel that. One last thing I want to show you. If you were doing, okay, let's say we're doing knit 2, purl 2. We would count this as a knit, and that would be our second knit. Then we would go purl 1, purl 2. And we come back this way, we go knit 1, knit 2. Then we go back purl 1, whoops, purl 2. Okay, that's if we were doing a knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. And we would do the same if it was a knit 3, purl 3, or if we, if we were doing a knit 3, purl 2, then you would just do the knit 3, purl 2 cast on, and so on and so forth. And that will just make it look so much smoother and more professional, and make your work look so much better. Not that it needs to look perfect, no one's perfect, but it'll just make it look better. These are like just little tips for when, if you do want to advance your knitting to like the next sort of level. This cast on, like I say, I will be using in the next video, which will be the seed stitch. I'm doing a little series on combinations where you can alternate or use just those two, the knit and the purl, to create stitch patterns and designs, and to just sort of liven up your knitting so that you're not just constantly doing either garter stitch or stockinette stitch or ribbing stitch. Okay, so that's it for now. I will see you tomorrow probably when we do the this cast on again. I will do it very quickly at the beginning, and then we'll get straight into the seed stitch. Okay, bye for now. Take care until then.